Imagine an abyss, thousands of meters below the sunlit surface. A leviathan, a great whale, ends its journey and begins a slow, silent descent. This is a whale fall, a colossal gift from the world above to the barren, dark seafloor. But what happens when it lands is stranger than any fiction. The immense carcass, over time, doesn't just decay, it transforms. Its skeleton becomes a garden, a city teeming with life, and this city is an illegal build constructed by an animal that by all rights shouldn't even exist. So what exactly is a whale fall? In the deep sea, life is a constant struggle for energy. Food is incredibly scarce. Most of the seafloor is a vast cold desert where a tiny morsel might be the only meal for months. Then a whale corpse arrives. It's a sudden, monumental jackpot of nutrients, equivalent to thousands of years of the normal marine snow that drifts down from above. It becomes an oasis, an island of life in the darkness. For the creatures of the abyss, it's like a new continent suddenly appearing, promising food, shelter, and a place to raise a family. An entire ecosystem, unique and isolated, springs up from nothing. This single event can support a complex community for decades, a bustling metropolis founded on a skeleton. This colonization happens in distinct, predictable waves, almost like seasons in a world without a sun. First come the mobile scavengers, the cleanup crew, sleeper sharks with ancient eyes, swarms of writhing hagfish, and spindly crabs arrive to the feast. In a matter of months, they can strip away tons of soft tissue. A frenzied but efficient process. Once the flesh is gone, the second wave moves in. This is the enrichment opportunist stage. A menagerie of smaller creatures, worms, tiny crustaceans, snails, colonizes the bones and the surrounding sediment, which is now soaked with oils and organic matter, microbial mats, thick blankets of bacteria, spread across the area, consuming the leftovers. But this is just the beginning. The most bizarre and long-lasting community is yet to come. The third stage is the sulfophilic phase, where life is no longer powered by eating the whale itself, but by the chemical reactions happening within its very bones. And this stage is ruled by the most unlikely architect of all. It was in the early 2000s, during an expedition off the coast of California, that a remotely operated vehicle sent back images that baffled scientists. On the pale, clean-swept bones of a grey whale carcass, there were fields of strange, reddish, feather-like plumes, waving gently in the current. They looked like bizarre sea flowers growing from a boneyard. But this was the deep sea, far beyond the reach of sunlight. They couldn't be plants, they had to be animals. But what kind of animal looked and acted like this? They were quickly given a fittingly weird nickname that stuck: the bone-eating snot flower. The formal name is Osedax, which literally means bone devourer. The discovery of this creature was like finding a new branch on the tree of life, one that had been hiding in plain sight on these temporary deep-sea islands. The mystery wasn't just what it was, but how it did what it did. How does a flower eat bone? The anatomy of Osedax is a masterclass in biological rule-breaking. It is the ultimate illegal builder. First, it has no mouth, it has no stomach, it has no gut whatsoever. So how does it eat? The red, feathery plumes you see are essentially its lungs, gills that absorb oxygen directly from the seawater. But the real magic happens out of sight. Below the plumes, the worm has a bizarre root-like system that doesn't just sit on the bone, it drills into it. These roots secrete acid to dissolve the hard mineral matrix of the skeleton. But the worm itself isn't digesting anything. The roots are filled with symbiotic bacteria. It's these bacterial partners that do the real work. They break down the complex fats and oils locked deep inside the whale bones, processing them into nutrients that the worm can then absorb. It's an outsourced digestive system. Osedax is a farmer, cultivating gardens of bacteria within the very bones it lives on, creating a life support system where none should exist. The flower-like plumes are for breathing, the roots are for mining, and the hidden bacteria are the engine powering this entire impossible operation. This entire ecosystem, this entire way of life is built on a temporary foundation. A whale skeleton, as massive as it is, will eventually be consumed entirely, crumbling to dust. The bone-eating worms will have eaten themselves out of house and home. Their city will vanish. This raises the single biggest question for Osedax survival. In an ocean the size of a planet, with whale falls happening unpredictably, separated by miles and years, how do they find the next one? We'll explore that incredible journey in part 2. In the endless dark of the deep sea, a ticking clock begins the moment a whale's body comes to rest. For the Osedax worm, it's a race against time. Build fast or die. The journey starts with a microscopic larva drifting alone in the immense, cold darkness. The odds are astronomically against it. Most will never find a home. They'll simply run out of energy and perish. Finding a whale skeleton in this void is like winning an impossible lottery. But when one lucky larva finally makes landfall on bare bone, it triggers a biological gold rush. This single pioneer sends out a chemical signal, an invisible beacon in the dark, telling others, "I've found it! The city can be built here." Soon, a flood of new arrivals follows. What was once a barren bone becomes a bustling construction site. The first settlers are critical. They are the founders who determine the city's future, laying the groundwork for a sprawling metropolis of worms. This isn't a slow, gentle process. It's an explosion of life. In a remarkably short time, the bone is completely covered, transforming into a dense, swaying Osedax forest. So how does this underwater city take shape? It all starts with those first settlers anchoring themselves to the bone. They don't just land anywhere, they begin to form tight clusters. This isn't random. Clustering is a strategy for survival and success. By packing together, they create a microenvironment. This density helps them manage the flow of oxygen across their bodies and concentrates the activity of the acid-producing bacteria they rely on to dissolve the bone. More importantly, this close proximity is crucial for reproduction, ensuring the next generation can continue the project. The whale fall becomes a dynamic, ever-changing construction site. As older worms die off, new larvae arrive to take their place, constantly rebuilding and expanding the city. It's a cycle of life and death playing out on a timescale far faster than anything else in the deep sea. The entire ecosystem is in a state of constant turnover, a frenzy of activity powered by the rich resources locked inside the skeleton. This rapid colonization is what makes the Osedax so effective at what they do, dismantling a giant. But the way this city propagates itself is perhaps the strangest part of the story. Osedax has one of the most extreme reproductive strategies in the animal kingdom. What we see on the bone, the colorful feathery plumes, are all females. Each one is a complex organism, with a root system boring deep into the bone to extract nutrients. But where are the males? The answer is almost unbelievable. They're living inside the females. The males never grow up. They remain microscopic, their bodies simplified to little more than sperm-producing factories. Inside the tube of a single female, you can find dozens, sometimes over 100, of these dwarf males, forming a microscopic harem. This arrangement solves the biggest challenge of deep-sea life, finding a mate in an enormous, empty world. The females don't need to wait for a male to swim by. They arrive carrying their own personal supply, ensuring constant fertilization and a steady stream of new larvae to seek out the next whale fall. It's a brilliant, if bizarre, solution to the problem of living in an isolated, unpredictable habitat where encounters are rare. Through this strange existence, Osedax worms aren't just residents, they are powerful ecosystem engineers. By dissolving bone, they perform a vital service. They are recyclers, breaking down one of the most durable materials in the ocean and releasing the nutrients locked within. These lipids and proteins re-enter the deep sea food web, feeding countless other organisms. They are accelerating the entire process. Without them, a whale skeleton might persist as a sterile monument for decades, even centuries. With them, it becomes a short-lived but incredibly rich oasis. This raises a fascinating question for paleontologists. By consuming bones so efficiently, Do Osedax worms actually reduce the chances of whale skeletons becoming fossils? Are these tiny worms erasing the very history they depend on? What we do know is that they play a crucial role in the deep ocean's carbon cycle. Whales are massive packages of carbon. When they sink, Osedax ensures that this carbon is rapidly redistributed at depth rather than being locked away on the seafloor. They are the gatekeepers of the whale fall's legacy. But the story doesn't start with whales. The tradition of building cities on the bones of fallen giants is far older. We've found Osedax on the skeletons of other large animals, like massive basking sharks. And the fossil record contains clues, telltale boreholes in the bones of ancient marine reptiles that look remarkably similar to the work of Osedax. These traces predate modern whales by millions of years, suggesting that these worms have been specialized bone eaters for a very, very long time. The deep sea has always relied on falling giants, and it seems Osedax, or something very much like it, has always been there to greet them. This ancient relationship now faces a modern threat. The era of industrial whaling in the 19th and 20th centuries drastically reduced global whale populations. Fewer whales meant fewer whale falls. Fewer whale falls meant fewer of these unique island-like ecosystems. For a time, it's possible that many Osedax populations were starved of resources, their cities vanishing from the seabed. Today, as many whale populations begin a slow recovery, we might be witnessing a resurgence of these deep-sea ecosystems. More whales could mean more whale falls, and a new golden age for the bone-eating worms. And so we are left staring into the darkness, filled with wonder and unanswered questions. How many of these whalefall cities exist right now, hidden from our view? What other undiscovered species live only in these fleeting islands of life? What will happen to these incredible ecosystems as whale populations continue to change? The story of the Osedax worm is a powerful reminder that even in the most extreme and remote corners of our planet, life finds a way, building empires in the dark on the bones of giants. Thanks for watching.